All right, we are back.
We're back.
We're back.
My goodness.
We're back. This is kind of a new arrangement, too. This is awesome. Very, very fun. We're relaunching the Made It in Music podcast.
Yeah.
Bringing it back.
Figured for any new listeners out there or ones that just kind of forgot who we were, we'd just do some quick little intros before we dive in. Riley, why don't you start us off? Ladies first.
There you go.
Ladies
oh, my
first.
goodness. Okay. Well, what's up, guys? Y'all probably hear my voice on this podcast quite often. My name is Riley Taylor. Here at Full Circle, I am the Song Chasers community manager, amongst some other miscellaneous things as well. But outside of here, songwriter, artist, corporate entertainment singer, social media manager, and content creator for artists here in Nashville.
Very, very talented songwriter and artist as well, and
thank you.
is helping with one of the artists that we've worked with for years, Jordana Bryant.
Yep.
Yes,
doing
she's amazing.
all the content.
Doing all of the content, yes. It's so fun. That's kind of the gist of the things that I do: photography, videography, and all of that kind of stuff. It's all connected. Yeah. But yeah.
You are Riley of all trades.
Oh, gosh. Riley of all trades. Yes. We're coining a new phrase today. Yeah, there you go.
We'll jump over to Maggie, who is the co-owner of the Full Circle Music Academy.
Crazy. I'm Maggie, and I'm just super grateful to be a part of the team here at Full Circle. It's funny, I don't always know how to intro because just kind of wearing a lot of hats here at the Academy, but have been a part of the team for a few years, have worn a variety of hats over those years, from systems to marketing to event planning, all the things. But I'm really just so grateful to get to continue to do that. And just love getting to encourage other songwriters. I'm also a songwriter and artist myself, and spent a lot of time pouring into that. So
just got your first major label cut this year. So congratulations on that.
You.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been great.
It's awesome.
That's me.
Let's jump over to the sensei.
Hello. X O'Connor here. I co-produce with Seth and mix songs. Try to make the best music we can here at Full Circle Music. Just hanging out, living the dream. If you're a song chaser, you've now got access to my little corner of the kingdom where I apparently have been dubbed the Sensei.
That's right.
Where we explore all things production and we try to have a good time with it.
Yeah, the Music Production Mastery Group is alive and well. Thanks to X. A lot of aspiring producers and artists learning the ways.
Yes. We are making headway.
Yeah.
I love it.
And for those of y'all who don't already know, I'm Seth Mosley, I'm producer, songwriter, founder of Full Circle Music, and have had the pleasure of working with many artists that I grew up listening to as a songwriter and producer. Started out as an artist, pre-TikTok, pre-Instagram, but MySpace was the thing back then. YouTube had just started to be a thing. And so once I kind of caught wind of all the content that you have to do to be an artist, I was like, this is too much work. I'm good at the not really too much work because it's hard work what we do too, but it's
work
not
you didn't.
It's the type of work I didn't want to do. It wasn't the creative work. So I transitioned into writing and producing and have been doing that for years, and get to head up the academy with Maggie, and we get to teach aspiring songwriters, artists, producers, the things that we wish we would have known when we were first getting into this. So those are our kind of quick intros. That's who we are. The Made It Music podcast has been an awesome vehicle for us over the years, and thought we'd try to just take it and make it a little more conversational. So that's kind of what we're going to do today.
As Riley so put it, a full circle moment that we have as we all sit quite
we are
literally
sitting
in a circle.
Yeah. It's an interesting shaped circle. But
it's more of a...
It comes around.
More of a rhombus.
A rhombus, yes.
That's more geometry than I've done in months right there.
So, today we're going to be diving into some kind of hot button topics in the music industry and things like the rise of AI in music, the evolving landscape in streaming platforms, and the impact of social media. But before we jump in there, maybe just some quick personal updates too. I know there's a big one from Riley Taylor.
Oh my
goodness! Care to share anything with the world?
How to say this? recently, I guess in the past couple of months, my husband and I found out that we're expecting our first child early July this year, 2025. So that's been really sweet and exciting. So yeah, pretty big life update, I suppose. So
No names picked yet?
not
Or public?
yet. We just found out the gender, so we are. Nobody knows. Well, nobody in this room except for me.
Sure.
So we're tossing some ideas out there and
All right.
just sitting on it. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it's an exciting time.
So basically, send your ideas to Riley on
If you have any
Instagram.
baby names, oh gosh,
Because I do want that, Riley.
oh boy,
That's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
that.
I mean, Maggie, you had your first major label cut this year. You're
Yeah.
doing your own artist stuff. You've got a lot going on.
That's so kind. Yeah, it's been super fun. There's really a sweet kind of, there's a sweet, I don't know if it's new because I haven't been around enough to speak to if it's truly new or just different, but there's really been this sweet just kind of circle in the indie Christian music space of, I feel like at least a lot more opportunities from pitching to rounds to just a really sweet community I've been able to kind of come alongside, and I've had some opportunities through as I've been growing. And so that's been super fun to just write with friends and watch them start to grow and continue to grow and have some of their biggest wins yet. And
and
it's
on
just been fun.
top of all the Academy stuff, I mean, how many co-writes did you do last year?
Last year it was, I haven't written down the exact number, but I know it was right around 100. So
Amazing.
was really excited about that, and I'm excited about, continuing to do that this year. And so it's fun. It's been a great time, and just continuing to learn and do that alongside the Academy, which I feel like is just such a huge gift to kind of get to do both of those things. So yeah.
It's amazing.
That's awesome.
We've been having a lot of fun in production world.
It's been a crazy end of the year / beginning of the next year. I don't remember it ever being like this busy at the transition of the year.
Yeah.
It was like we literally ran right up to the last day and then hit the ground running when we came right on back. So
Yeah, what
it's been great.
have we been working on? Maybe we can just kind of elaborate on some of the stuff in the last year and some of the stuff we're diving into currently.
End of the year was a lot of Chris Lane, a lot of Cooper Allen. We had some Jordana Bryant at the end of the year as well.
Had some Skillet.
Yeah, we had some Skillet last year. I'm trying to think what else.
Had some Newsboys.
Yeah, Newsboys and Newsboys now too.
Yeah,
got some Newsboys coming in today actually.
Some Ryan Larkins.
Ryan Larkins, yep. Just finished some more with Ryan and Vince Gill featuring on that, which is super cool.
Amazing. X has really blossomed, for those of y'all out there who aren't aware, as a mix engineer as well too.
I don't know. I'm trying.
Just recently mixed some records for Gloria Gaynor.
Actually I got a Gloria Gaynor up in the room right now.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to hear that voice like coming out of your own speakers and being like, oh, it's on a session, not in Spotify.
She's still surviving.
She's still surviving. Sounds like she still might have the same kind of guy around her. She's, still thriving.
Yeah.
At putting them in the past. So
I love it. I've been having a blast on the songwriting side. Since in the last 4 years of transitioning from like Christian to more country has been the focus. Partnering and signing with Sony Music Nashville. They've been an incredible team. Kenley Flynn, my publisher there, Rusty Gaston, president there, have just got me into so many rooms that I was not able to before. And obviously once you get in the room, you got to deliver, right? So that's always the pressure, right? That never really goes away.
Yeah.
But I think I looked at my catalog yesterday, and I think I had just turned in song 476 in that deal.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Which is probably a lot, just in terms of like by year, more songs than I've ever written in my whole career.
I'm sure.
It's been awesome. Learning a ton, getting to write with some of my heroes like Tom Douglas and just amazing peers and friends that I get to write with every day. Allison Veltz and Matt McKinney and Emily Weisband, James McNair, Jameson Rogers. So many amazing writers out there. I definitely could not. I'm leaving hundreds of them out, but it's taught me so much about songwriting, like coming from the Christian side, which is very lyrical focused. Like that's sort of what the defining factor of it is. Country is as well. It just is, you kind of have to start over at square one. And I think I knew that going in on the front end, but I didn't maybe realize just how much you'd have to be starting over from square one. And I feel like we're starting to see those seeds sprout, and thankfully,
for sure,
kind of the years of planting that we did in the Christian industry gave us a good foundation to be able to sort of branch out and do what we're doing now. So
yeah.
Lot going on here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
At the studio.
How would you pinpoint like that biggest difference lyrically for anybody listening between Christian and country, and what that shift looked like?
The way that I would say it is Christian is really more of like a feeling lyric. It's not always about like being clever or making perfect sense or having like a clever turn of phrase. It can be very emotional, stream of consciousness, not as like story based.
For sure.
And it goes in and out of trends too. Like right now in Christian music, I think it's in a really interesting spot with like Forrest Frank and Josiah Queen and people who kind of are the up and comers and are doing like pretty overt, it's not like they're trying to hide any kind of Christian message, but it's more like, I don't know, how would you describe it? It's just like how you would talk every day.
Yeah, a lot more conversational, a lot more, well, I hesitate to say a lot more variety, because Christian music really started in not a way we often think of CCM now, but just I feel like exploring different genres, different conversations, different, I don't know. It's funny, you might hear someone who sounds like Taylor Swift, but Christian, and then something, or at least slowly those voices are getting more and more heard. I think you said it great with Forrest Frank and Josiah Queen being kind of two of those main ones who are rising to the surface right now. Yeah,
for sure. Whereas I would say in country, it is so all about the lyric, sometimes to a fault. This is something that as a writer, I'm kind of naturally more music and melody first, and country isn't always that way. So sometimes I have to be the guy in the room who's like taking an incredible lyric from, somebody like Tom Douglas in the corner and figuring out how do we make this really, really singable and sort of hooky and commercial sounding. And that's where like the math comes in of like, okay, the melody's got to line up. There's got to be symmetry. Thinking about things like, where do you start on the downbeat? Where do you, how do you make the music feel powerful and impactful? So I think so much of the country, but what I will say is it's made me a better lyricist just being in the room and kind of osmosis of, probably close to 800 writing sessions now that have been geared towards country stuff. So, I don't know. It really is all about the lyric, that clever turn of phrase, and still got to have emotion and feeling to it, but it's just, they say there's a phrase in Nashville, and Big Loud, I think, kind of coined it, and they talk about a lyric needing to be airtight. Like there can't be a single hole in the lyric where any fluff can escape. It's just every single syllable has to be intentional. Yeah. And so it's just a high bar.
Yeah.
It's a very high bar. We have the best songwriters literally in all of the world. I think we have the best musicians in the world in Nashville.
Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of artists, we just had Rachel Platten in here this week, who is, had that big hit Fight Song, and people like her are starting to make these trips to Nashville and realize like, wow, there's great musicianship here. She did her whole record, a lot with live musicians from here, and a lot of the same people that we work with, Aaron Sterling and Lex Price, and people are realizing, wow, like this is where the virtuosos have ended up.
Yeah.
Not really sure why that is, but
I don't know, because I think it's a relaxing place, and it's a place where, like LA, I've heard, you can blend in a little bit, but here it's just such an easy pace where no one's like shocked by who they see out and about. It's just like, I don't know, I think it's just a really friendly place to live. And and if you're gonna, do this kind of thing, why not live somewhere where you enjoy spending the time? You don't want to spend 40 minutes driving 6 blocks, just to load your drum kit in.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's also a slightly more collaborative city than competitive. I think that's the energy that people get when they come to Nashville, and that draws people in for sure.
Yeah.
So
very family friendly place too.
That's also very true.
The schedule, from what I've, friends who have done and do the LA thing, they may not start until, 3 in the afternoon and go till the middle of the night, basically.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's a little tricky I don't know how people do it, to be honest. It's crazy. So
my best hours are over by then, pretty much.
Yeah.
my best stuff's in the morning.
Yeah. I have my sweet spot is probably the same as you. It's like between like 9 a.m. and like 1 p.m. probably.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I'm very much that same way.
Yeah. After that, it kind of.
It's downhill from there.
Let's talk a little bit about what's been going on in Song Chasers. We've built this really incredible community over the past few years that we've been working on. Riley, thanks to you, a lot of the credit with the being such a great community manager. Do you want to talk about just some of the highlights and updates and wins and stuff we've seen happen?
There's been so much over the past few years, and I feel like recently we've just seen like an uptrend of a lot of success stories in Song Chasers. But something cool we've been trying to track recently is how many releases that we've had out in the community by members, and I want to say it's over 150 now.
Oh, wow.
And it honestly might be higher than that.
Yeah, we even this morning had a member be like, hey, by the way, here's the playlist of all the songs I've released during Song Chasers.
Yeah.
So that probably adds
That
another
a
20
lot.
from her alone.
Yeah. So yeah, it's hard to keep track of everything, but at least what we're tracking is well over 150 released songs that are out there in the world by our members, which is a big deal, which is really awesome. And so that's a huge win. I would say we've got couple of other things. I mean, we have members from 12 different countries, which I think is such a special thing about Song Chasers. It's part of the reason why it even started too, is not everybody's in the same city. Not everybody can be in Nashville, and we're trying to bring Nashville, a piece of Nashville, to everyone else. And so I think it's really sweet that we can serve people internationally. And they show up. They are showing up no matter what time it is.
Yeah, I'm amazed at the time
crazy.
zones. I mean, we've had people from like India and Vietnam
like
showing
12
up.
hours ahead of us.
It's like
I'm
the
like,
middle
it's
of the night
midnight
there.
there. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, so that's just crazy, but that just, goes to show. They're showing up. They're putting the work in. So that's really awesome. Something else that we've been doing a lot of, pitch to publisher sessions. We've hosted 12 of those. And then we just recently kind of launched a pitch to artist, which is similar, but we're bringing in artists that are community members get to submit some songs, and we'll go through them and we'll pitch, 10 or 15 live on the call
first
with
ones
them.
we did were with Cooper Allen. Who's a big rising country star, and Jordan Feliz in the Christian.
So those were two big hits that we had in our community, along with our pitch to publisher sessions, which have always been great, have always been loved. So just celebrating more of that this year for sure. And then of course, X has his music production mastery group, which is a huge hit. We just passed 2 years?
2 years.
2 years of doing that group.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that didn't initially launch with the community, but we decided it was just such a need, gap to fill. And so X stepped in so graciously and started hosting that. And so everybody in Song Chasers has access to X and to that group and to your trainings, which, just
nice
crazy.
To see new faces in it too. It's kind of a fun new adventure.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're getting some new kids.
Yep, new kids are in, living the dream.
But I mean, those are some big things. We've got our songwriting retreats coming up. We've hosted, how many, Maggie? 4 or 5?
We've hosted 5 total.
5 total.
4 of them were last year.
Yeah.
So that's been super fun.
And that's also kind of a Song Chasers win as well. A lot of our people who attend the retreats come from our Song Chasers community. So it's just like a little family reunion. We've had a lot of releases from our songwriting retreats, which has been really special. And we've got one coming up next month. So just more of those.
Well, I think the thing that's been exciting to me, and Maggie, you can probably speak to this too, is actually seeing the releases that have come out of those, because I think people who aren't used to the Nashville co-writing way just literally can't comprehend until they get in the room and see, oh wow, this is how it's actually done in 4 hours. And like our gracious industry pros who come in and write with them and help them produce these demos and tracks. So they leave with such a higher bar than I think they're used to.
Absolutely.
And they're like, man, I got to get this music out into the world. So that's what's happening. Like these artists are putting out songs, and it's just
changed the game a little bit for them.
Absolutely. And to recap, just for anybody listening who isn't familiar with our songwriting retreats, because they are kind of a unique thing that we get to do. It's an opportunity for a lot of songwriters who are in our community, people outside of that community as well, but to come in person to our studio and have 4 sessions with professional songwriters and peers. There are panels built in too for networking time. People leave with 4 demos of the songs, kind of as Seth started to allude to. But so really, like you said, Seth, just bringing that up to just such a higher level and seeing those releases come out. And not only that, but to the point of the pitch to artists and pitch to publisher sessions, so often those are the songs that are pitched just because of the high
bar,
the high quality of them. But I know that too has led to so many wins for members of Song Chasers by coming to those retreats. And so they've just really been a blast, and we're excited to do more of them this year as well. And it's gonna be fun.
Possibly a production retreat.
Possibly.
Maybe.
Stay tuned.
Brainstorming.
If the kids are interested enough, can message us.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about some stuff that's going on in the industry today that will be relevant to people listening out there. And the big hot button topic is AI in music. AI is making waves.
It's very much so.
And as we know historically, the tech always leads and then the music follows. We think back to, do you remember when Napster and, like, were you a Napster or Kazaa guy?
Kazaa, I used Kazaa a lot.
This might have even been before your guys' time, right?
It sounds
Kazaa,
like it.
I remember getting Kazaa in like 98, like 99. Definitely when I was in college, like 2001.
Yeah.
I remember because I was learning about music, but I was listening to music that might not have been released or anything like that. I'm not going to incriminate myself here. Yeah, for sure.
But thinking back to that, it was such a huge uproar about the industry, or from the industry, about pirating music. And the thing that I think the industry learned and hopefully will apply to what we're facing today is this idea that tech is going to drive things, and we just need to be on the front end of how do we interact with how people are going to consume information and consume music anyway, because it was obviously first, from vinyls to 8 tracks to cassette tapes to CDs. The medium has always been changing, and it probably always will.
Yeah.
But I remember when iTunes became a thing, that was a huge, labels and artists and writers were kind of freaking out about that, because it's well, how am I going to make my living? Well, the method just changes. It's not so much about buying whole records anymore. It's about buying singles.
Yep.
And then that kind of evolved since, the streaming platforms really have taken off, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, and now everybody is kind of catching up to that. And now the next phase is AI. Do you want to talk a little bit about just some of the interesting stuff we've discovered with AI? It's even, we use it all the time in production.
Yeah, we use it literally every single day. The ability to use an AI like Moises that can literally take a song and deconstruct it into its individual elements. You can have the vocal isolated, the drums isolated, all this stuff. And we use it even just for demos when we're cutting the masters and we don't have access to the files. We can just strip it down that way so we can take the vocal out. But even for just finding cool little drum loops and clips here and there, it's just incredible what you can do. And then La-La's with just AI vocal generation. Suddenly you don't even need to cut a gang vocal anymore. You can sing one vocal in, run it through 4 different AI algorithms, and suddenly you have multiple voices all singing the same part with the same tune. It saves so much time. Yeah. It's absolutely insane. And then even just beyond that, you have AI generated plugins and stuff to where you can literally run your song through it and then say, I want my song to sound like this song. And it just learns all the different microdynamics and EQ curves and everything. And next thing you know, it's applying that process to your song and a couple of tweaks. And it's I have a professional sounding master now that I barely had to work for. And I think that's the scariest part, is the barely had to work for it thing, because I think a lot of bad can come from not having to actually try to achieve what you're achieving. But I think there's a balance in it for sure.
Yeah. I feel like humans are always going to want to hear things that other humans are doing.
Yeah.
Art-wise, it just would not be fun if everything, for musicians in particular. Nobody wants to just walk in and curate okay, here's 1,000 choices, you pick the one you like, and that's music creation. I think that's going to be a way of doing it.
Yeah.
But I personally believe, I don't know what you guys think, Maggie and Riley, being of the up and comer younger generation.
Us youngins.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think people are always going to value like something made by an actual human being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there will be the time of where, it's already becoming to the point where it's close to indistinguishable. It's not there yet. But like, for instance, there's a company called Suno. Suno.ai. A lot of people listening to this would probably already know what that is, but they're on V4, which I believe was only like, I heard about it for the first time like last year.
Yeah.
And it was on like V2. And even then it was already like kind of amazing. You just put in a prompt, like, give me a chill trip hop song about, I'm a computer and I'm sad. Like it could be about anything. You just put these prompts in and it spits out these crazy pieces of music in like 5 or 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And in V4 that I was just watching a video about it this morning, like it's so crazy. We can still tell, like, I think being producers and musicians ourselves, stuff like the guitar solos are still very hard to fake.
Yeah.
Like they sound like somebody played them on a keyboard.
Yeah.
Vocals you can still kind of tell, but in V4 it's like getting, more indistinguishable. But the thing that we're going to have to figure out, and that the industry is going to have to figure out, is how do you, to have an AI that does this, it's got to be trained off of other stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And the problem now is a lot of these, there's allegations and there's a big lawsuit going on right now from Sony, Warner, and Universal against Suno and Udio for allegedly training off of decades worth of catalog without any license for it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a wild time. So people are going to have to figure that out. We'll see what the outcome of that lawsuit is. That's obviously going to be a huge bearing on how things happen going forward. But
Yeah.
people are using AI in everything. We just got approached, Maggie, and we can speak to this even about a company using our training content, like our courses and videos that we've made, to train AI models based off of. But they're companies that legally license it, and they somehow figure out some type of a royalty based off of what content is used. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, it's super interesting. And I don't know that I have a whole lot to add to what you just said, because we have some meetings set up over the next couple of weeks to better understand exactly what that looks like and exactly how it's going to be used. But yeah, specifically, it sounds like there's these companies who kind of are serving as the middlemen to the companies who are using content to kind of help build, basically middleman company building their catalog to then resource these other companies trying to train AI models. And so, it's interesting, when we first heard about it, we didn't really know if anything like it existed, because we just weren't really sure, like, how are these companies working, things like that. And now as we've dug into it, there are a handful of companies who are kind of serving as these databases for these other companies trying to train AI models. And it's interesting, and it brings up all sorts of questions too, is just what that's going to look like moving forward. And I don't know.
Yeah. And have you all seen the YouTube Dream Studio? I think it's called Dream Sound or Dream something.
I don't know if I have.
It's basically their version that they're actually working with artists and labels to like legally get permission to license.
I have seen some shorts of this. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think there's 9 artists so far that have basically said, I'm cool with using my vocal likeness, essentially. And so like Charlie Puth is on it, T-Pain is on it, I think Demi Lovato is on it.
Okay.
But basically what it does, and I think it's still in like a beta stage, but the ones that I've heard, I had a guy from Google show this to me, and the ones that I've heard, like, is you can basically say, hey, I want Charlie Puth to write me a song about having a great time and I just turned 16 or whatever. Like, so you can basically have like Charlie Puth write you a personalized song. And eventually there's a world where you have this whole playlist of stuff that's individualized, personalized to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
just wild.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
But I think the artists who are seeing this as a positive thing, like Charlie Puth, view it as, okay, well, hey, people are going to be doing this anyway.
Yeah.
Why not like monetize it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
something that an artist can opt in or out of. So you certainly don't have to. Like if you're Taylor Swift and you're like, I don't consent to this, then you don't have to opt into it.
Right.
But I just think that's so fascinating that, you know, there's going to be a legal way that this gets done, and YouTube is on the front end of actually trying to figure out what that looks like with labels, with artists, working out licensing deals. So there's some kind of a back end royalty if, you know, 100 million people make a video with Charlie Puth's vocal likeness, like he should be compensated something for that.
For sure.
So
That's so wild.
pretty wild.
It'll be interesting to see the long-term effects of even in terms of branding for different artists, the ones who do choose to move forward and ones who don't, to see, you know, what the response is from their audience in regards to that. If it, you know, to the point of being able to have a personalized song from someone like Charlie Puth, is that helping people connect with him because he's allowing them to do that and they feel connected to him through that personalized song? Or is it going to work the opposite way? It'll be just interesting to see responses, I feel like, long term to how that goes.
I mean, the way that I think it's pretty amazing because it basically opens up an entirely new revenue stream that didn't exist for artists who, you know, you got your streaming income, you got your sync licensing, you got your publishing, you got your touring, you got your merchandise, and now you have AI generated AI content.
Yeah.
That's a whole new, just like the YouTube, you know, user generated content. If somebody uploads a video with your song in it, you as the creator get compensated for that. So I think it's actually kind of an exciting positive thing.
Yeah, I think it is too. I mean, especially if you're an artist. I mean, by consenting to it, you in essence take the power back on yourself by saying, like, I'm going to embrace this. I'm going to help drive this a little bit. And it's just a revenue stream that you have literally minimal input in, other than signing the right way to do it, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of awesome. I've heard that they've experimented too with actors, like in a digital sense of, like, they've tried, like, not legally yet, but they've considered the idea of having, you know, AI generated models of people, like, making commercials. And so, like, actors that don't want to take the time to, like, leave a set somewhere can consent to have themselves put into these commercials. And it's like, that is mind blowing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We could hire.
You could be in two places at one time.
We could hire Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to do like a Song Chasers ad.
Exactly.
That would be crazy.
Come on.
That'd probably be an expensive license.
That'd probably be an expensive
Probably.
license. But
It would be worth it.
It would be worth it. There is a dark side with AI, though, for sure.
For sure.
There was a study done by I believe it was University of Berkeley in California, talked about how they believe that 40% of the jobs, the University of Southern California found that up to 40% of the music industry jobs could be automated by AI within the next decade. This includes roles such as session musicians, studio engineers, and even some songwriting tasks. So,
yeah.
I still find that hard to believe, though, especially like you were just saying with musicians and stuff. I mean, I don't think it's that close to being like, oh, it's going to be replaced. And some of this, just, I guess, depending on how your workflow is, like, there's such a real world part of it, like, especially the engineering part and, like, the actual getting of sounds. It's not turning any knobs or anything, you know, everything being synthetically generated, even if it's from the most intricate sample libraries ever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not too scared.
yeah. And AI really can't create. It just replicates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a world where, I mean, let's talk about like great studio musicians, people like, you know, Tom Bukovac or, you know, Jerry Rowe on drums or Phil Lawson or any of these guys that we work with all the time, Johnny Fung. I think there's a world in the future where they get to sort of just sit and play all the time and create these libraries that they can license to train, let's say, like Waves, for instance. We work with Waves plugins a lot, and we have all of their stuff. We're official Waves, what is it, endorsees, I guess.
Yeah. Waves artists,
yeah. And there's a world where maybe they come up with like, hey, put the chord progression in your DAW and drop in an AI of Tom Bukovac playing guitar on it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a world where that could be possible in the future, which could be really fun.
That'd be crazy.
And somebody like Tom or whoever chooses to consent to it would obviously be monetized because it's their style. It's their unique way of playing. So, but on the same token, we just did a record of full band in the room, and I'm just always reminded. I think that's kind of a trend of like, and you guys can speak to this, of stuff just feeling more real and raw and organic. Yeah. Like, do you think that's kind of where things are moving?
It definitely feels like it. And, you know, even on the songwriting side, it feels like where we're currently at with AI, I don't think that songwriters would be replaced in its current state, in its current form. I think right now it's more complementary to songwriters for those that want to use it, you know, for whatever. But I don't think, like you said, it is replicating. And so it might take styles, it might take trends or whatever, but it's still a little generic. It's still a little cheesy right now. And I mean, obviously, who's to say in 10 years that doesn't look completely different? But I feel like on the songwriting thing right now, it's not going to replicate the raw and organic and human feel of a song that's written by 4 people in a room. So,
yeah. And I think there's the filter in the future will have to be some type of a distinguishing factor. Is this AI created or is this not? Mm-hmm. And if people know that it's AI created, I feel like there's just automatically going to be less attachment to it. Like there's just not going to be true fans of, like, there's nobody to be a fan of at that point.
Right, for sure.
Yeah. So I do think we have, you know, in fields like the arts especially, I do think we have a long way to go, long runway before, if ever, our jobs are replaced. I do think there are some jobs that will and have already been replaced. I mean, things like, you know, I mean, like even just engineering is not as big of a part of the landscape of production as it used to be. It's obviously very important. Yep. And when we're doing a full band, it's very important. But I mean, how many records are made without a quote unquote engineer on it? You know,
almost all. I dare. It's, you don't, like, when I started in music, it was so segmented. Like, because the producer was even just the person who hired the band and worked with the artist to find songs. And then on the day, it's like the engineer running the session, the band leader driving the band, and the artist just kind of speaking into it. And the producer's just in the back like, awesome. When are we doing vocals? You guys want lunch? Hotchickens.com. It's coming in 30 minutes. Don't worry about it. Sign the union card on your way out. That's you know, awesome. Now it's just like, it's all been kind of filtered down to where, like, you know, producers are pretty much, they're there in the beginning. They're putting the bands together. They're helping find the songs, often writing the songs, like just driving, like engineering the stuff, often mixing their own stuff. It's just, it's all diluted down into one thing because the money just changed so dramatically. There wasn't, if you wanted to make money, you couldn't pay someone else to be doing a job you could do.
Yeah. And also the technology. Yeah. I mean, that it didn't exist. Like, you needed an engineer back in the day because an engineer was an actual engineer.
Yeah.
Like
they built their stuff. That's like literally why they got the name. Is they, like, that's why they were wearing lab coats, was because they were in there like soldering stuff up and like, you need an EQ? Give me 45 minutes.
I got to build one physically.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then even just like the barrier to entry though too in what we do has changed so much. Like my first, like when I, like 2006, 2007, when I bought my first Pro Tools rig, it cost me almost $40,000 to buy. And now you can go and get a $1,000 laptop and do 10 times what I could do with $40,000 worth of gear. And like just sit in your basement and do it. Like with what I bought, you had to have like a giant computer. You had to have racks of gear. It was just not feasible to have it anywhere other than like a dedicated space for it. Now you can just sit in a coffee shop and do your thing. It's changed so much.
Yeah, for sure. And really what that means for everybody creating music is there's so much more being put out now than there ever has. I think the last stat was like 60,000 uploads a day or something like that.
Crazy.
Which leads us into our next segment, which is about social media. How do you actually rise above the noise of all the other 60,000 things? And social media is the thorn in every musician's side. Riley, I'd love to hear you speak to this because you're kind of helping navigate this, or not kind of, you are helping really navigate this on a ground level with Jordana Bryant, who is a great success story of how social media is and has been working for her. So maybe speak a little bit to that. What can musicians do to where it's not like an all-consuming thing and they just lose their soul because of it?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I hear it a lot. I hear a lot of songwriters and artists just talk about how much they're like, I don't want this. I didn't sign up for this. I just wanted to write music. I just want to sing. I just want to, whatever. And not unfortunately, but it just naturally has become just such a thing. Obviously, like record labels are very much still a thing and still alive, but I think more and more over the past, I don't know, definitely 5 years, but maybe even slightly before that, indie artists have been really, really rising to the top, primarily because of social media, just the access to the world. And you don't have to have the label and the PR and all of the things. While all that can be helpful, it's just not as ground level necessary as much. And so a lot of indie artists are seeing a lot of success. I will say that virality isn't everything, though. Like one viral moment doesn't mean that you're going to have a successful career. And I think I've seen, and that's not Jordana by any means, but I have seen a lot of artists on TikTok, they have one viral moment and then they lose everything, or they don't follow up on it and they don't really try to create a fan base and an audience. And then they kind of just lose that and they expect, whatever, all this streaming and everything. But virality does not equal success. It doesn't equal a career. And so I think that's been really interesting to see kind of evolve. But with Jordana specifically, she's been working a lot with Rick Barker over the past, several years at least, and obviously came in and worked with you. Yeah. And so Rick is a fantastic kind of marketing manager and all of that. And so I know he spoke into strategy a lot at least the beginning of her career, and really kind of helped lay the groundwork for her. But I would say now that we kind of have a foundation for her, she was even able to be independent for quite a while and still see a lot of success, a lot of streaming, a lot of really great numbers on social media without, all of the stuff happening, behind. So, I don't know if that really answers that question. There's so many things. There's so many levels and layers to social media. And
I mean, number one, it's very, very helpful for an artist to have somebody else like yourself come alongside them.
Everyone needs a Riley.
Everyone needs a Riley, exactly.
And I would say if it is becoming, especially artists like Jordana, where you are seeing like success, you are seeing numbers, you are seeing all of this stuff, and you're like, I just want to spend more time writing, or I just want to spend more time recording in sessions, doing things that are really going to move the needle in her career. And she did get to that point where she was just like, I'm spending so much time in the mornings, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to post today? And spend hours just like trying to get it edited on her phone and scheduling and all of the things, thinking of what to record, what are we posting this week kind of stuff. And so I think for her, and I'm sure a lot of other artists feel the same way, it's just taking up too much time, daily, weekly, whatever. And so if you do have the resources and the bandwidth to bring someone on that kind of can help, whether it's filming, whether it's editing, whether it's scheduling, because there's a lot of different kind of roles someone like myself can play. And so you might need all of it. You might just need one of those things, and just kind of knowing where the gaps that need to be filled can be really helpful. And then kind of just going from there, finding some people who can just, complement what you need. Can be very, very beneficial.
For sure.
And I know that Jordana, she's always like, such a breath of fresh air, such a sigh of relief knowing that it's handled, it's taken care of. I don't have to handle everything by myself. We've got it covered, So it can be, just great. Even for someone's mental health, just knowing like I can take a step back from the social media game, like being super, super present all the time, So.
That's one thing. I am so thankful that as, creators and songwriters and producers, we don't really have to play that game, because our work really is the marketing.
Yeah.
Like somebody will work with X as a mix engineer because they heard something else he mixed, or somebody will work with me as a producer or a songwriter because I did this song or this song.
Yep.
And so I think it is a distinguishing factor for people that are like at that crossroads of like, do I want to be an artist or do I want to be a songwriter?
For sure.
I know that's something you've kind of talked about and wrestled with over the years too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a couple years ago, I kind of finally, there's a long story to kind of my own personal songwriting journey, but started to release just a couple of songs, really more so than anything is just giving myself permission to do it. Something I've wrestled with, this is not to give too much insight into my personal overthinking, if you will.
It's a safe space.
It's a safe space. But is, for me personally, I'm somebody who really genuinely loves songwriting and creating, but also so loves pouring into other people and their creative processes. It's part of why, honestly, being here at Full Circle while being a songwriter feels just like such a gift to get to do both. But anyways, so a couple years ago, I was really wrestling with that tension, but kind of found permission to, hey, you don't just have to pour into other people. You are allowed to do this yourself and to bring yourself to the table, which I will say, if anybody's listening and wrestling with that same tension of maybe you even listen to podcasts like this, but are struggling to show up yourself because you don't think you have a place or you have errands to run or kids that you're taking care of, you are in such good company and in good company with a lot of people in our community, that them jumping into Song Chasers or retreats or things like that has been them prioritizing that in their own life and saying like, hey, this does matter to me and I'm going to show up for it and I'm allowed to show up for it. Not to preach, sidebar.
Yeah,
but,
that's great. I love it.
But yeah, anyway, so my intention started releasing music, but, that has been one of, for sure, the factors is realizing I'm not sure that I want to keep showing up to the social media game or, that's just not quite as much my personality or my favorite thing in the entire world. And so anything could happen, but especially probably over the last year and a half, really pivoting to focusing pretty heavily on top lining and growing in that and showing up to other artists, friends, and things like that. But something regardless, I will say, about social media is I think it can be so helpful to reframe just the importance of connecting with people truly. Like when I remember social media, when, even I do a couple of releases here and there still, when I remember that it's truly just about connecting on story and really getting to meet people where they're at, it's so refreshing. And even while, you speaking to Jordana, while, it's been interesting to realize, one viral TikTok doesn't necessarily change everything. If you notice the same theme pops up over and over again, which I know is something you've experienced with Jordana, it can be an indicator of, oh, this is something that people really are resonating with and that I should keep doing. I think a lot of people with social media, have this impression that it is all about the numbers, and the numbers are absolutely helpful. I know that is often an indicator for label artists and things like that, but there's also something true to, this framework of 1,000 true fans that's been around for a few years. And for anybody who's unfamiliar with that, the idea that, if you have 1,000 true fans, which may seem like a low number in today's world, but who are willing to put in $100 towards your merch, listening to all your music, showing up to your shows a year, that's suddenly a 6-figure career, which can feel just absolutely crazy for especially an independent artist. And so that was kind of a bit of a ramble, but lots of different thoughts there. But
go deep rather than wide is the moral of the story.
Yes, go deep more rather than wide.
I think artists and probably songwriters too struggle because, a lot of what we're writing, we want it to be authentic. We want it to be real and raw, like we've been talking about, just very human. And in a lot of ways, TikTok and Instagram, and they crave the trendy, the viral, which is kind of the opposite of that authentic, real, raw, in the moment stuff. And so you can feel this like tug both ways and not really sure where's the middle, where's the balance. And I think that's where a lot of artists probably find themselves just like, I don't know. They're trying to chase the trends and chase the challenges, still stay true to themselves, stay true to the song. And I think that's why it's so hard, is like you do really just have to throw paint at the wall a little bit with your kinds of content. And we've seen that a lot with Jordana as well. Doing so many different kinds of content we haven't tried, content people are like, just try this, see if it works, whatever. But even still, even when we get the millions of views, while it's not like gonna drastically change anything, we are obviously mentally taking notes of like, these videos worked, this kind of video worked, it caught people's attention for a reason. What was it? Was it where we were? Was it what you said at the beginning of the video? Was it the song, because that's a lot of it too. We're taking note of like, this song is really, really hitting with people right now. And I know a lot of artists are taking that strategy of doing little teasers on TikTok and Instagram, doing a little chorus or verse. And obviously some of that can kind of hit a viral moment or whatever. And you really kind of chase that. And they're like, okay, this is what people are wanting. We're going to release this song next because this is what people, are wanting. So yeah. It's been really interesting to see, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a wild world. Well, that feels like a really good place to wrap up today. We'll definitely do more of these conversations. Would love to hear from listeners out there what you guys think and what you'd like to hear more about. And yeah, it's awesome. It's great chatting with y'all today.
I know, this is nice.
It's a good time.
We don't always get to sit in the same spot.
Yes.
So it's kind of good to get the band together a little bit.
Band
Exactly.
together.
Exactly.
The Full Circle Music Band.
Awesome.
There you go.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Made It in Music podcast. And be sure to check out our other episodes where we unpack hundreds of hot topics with some of the top music industry pros, both here in Nashville and all over the world. Subscribe to make sure that you automatically get future episodes, and leave us a review if you loved it. It would really help us out. Or send an email to support@fullcirclemusic.com if you have ideas for how we can improve the show. If you would like to become a Song Chasers member and attend our training sessions live, head over to joinsongchasers.com to learn more. You also get additional exclusive training from music industry professionals. You get our royalty-free custom tracks from Seth Mosley. You get song reviews from me and my team, and you get access to a custom social media network we created exclusively for songwriters and musicians. There's nothing else like it on the internet. Head to joinsongchasers.com to learn how to join, and check out madeitinmusic.com for more content and episodes from this podcast. See you in the next episode.